The year was 1999. Elian Gonzalez made a treacherous and highly publicized journey from Cuba to the United States on an inner tube, while Jay-Z stabbed record executive Lance Rivera at a nightclub in New York. Allegedly. And on March 26th of the following year, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences chose American Beauty for Best Film at the 72nd Academy Awards. But did they make the right decision? Jesse and Rian are here to pass judgment. This is Movies I Missed, 1999, Episode 11, The Year in Review.
I'm Jesse Munoz.
And I'm Ryan Miller.
This is Movies I Missed, 1999, Episode number 11. No movie today. We're going to be doing a season wrap-up. So we're going to go over a bunch of stuff. Ryan, 1999. We watched 10 movies that either you or I hadn't seen.
That's true, we did.
But we only did 10. There's other movies that we didn't get to watch on the show. So let's cover some of the things that we either watched for the first time or rewatched from 1999. Why don't you give me something that you watched?
I didn't watch a ton, but I rewatched a couple of things. I'll start off with Fight Club. I went back. Obviously, I'd seen this a bunch of times before. I mean, it came out, 99, so I was like freshman in high school. And that's like the perfect age to like not fully understand what that movie is, but love it.
Yeah.
And watched it a ton of times. And I was looking back on my Letterboxd to see like if I had my most recent previous rewatch on there, and I didn't, which means I don't remember what year Letterboxd became a thing, but I had been keeping track of the movies I was watching just on my own for like 2 or 3 years prior to Letterboxd starting, because that's how big of a nerd that I am. So right. I have pretty detailed like records of what I was watching back through like 2008, 2010. And I didn't have Fight Club entered on Letterboxd before this most recent viewing, so it had been a long time since I'd seen it last. I mean, it's one of those movies I watched so many times back in the early 2000s that I probably didn't need to rewatch it because it was like so,
ingrained,
strong in my memory. But yeah, I gave that a look again. And the most interesting thing about that is it began a 9-movie David Fincher rewatch marathon for me.
Nice.
And after revisiting Fight Club, I was like, man, I really want to watch 7 now. And then I ended up rewatching every single David Fincher movie except for Alien 3, which I've also seen a billion times because Aliens is my favorite movie. Mank, which you and I reviewed for the Sidetrack podcast, and I'm fine if I never watch it again because I found it so boring.
It really was,
The Killer, which I just watched last year because it just came out.
Okay.
But I rewatched everything else. Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Panic Room, The Game, Zodiac, even Benjamin Button, which I hadn't seen since the theater. But
so what's your favorite? What's your favorite Fincher?
Man, it's tough to say because there's so many good ones. Like part of me wants to say 7. Part of me wants to say Social Network. Part of me wants to say Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I don't know. I'm a Fincher fan, suffice to say. But it's just interesting.
What's your least favorite? What's your least favorite of those that you
Mank,
watched?
Easily.
Yeah. Well, what of the ones that you listed that you did rewatch?
I mean, I don't think any of the ones that I rewatched are bad. I mean, I like Benjamin Button. Like rewatching it, I'd kind of forgotten. I remember that I liked it when it came out in the theater, but I had kind of forgotten why, because it's kind of a movie that I feel like generally people don't like or feels like an outlier in Fincher's career. And it is like a weirdly sentimental movie for him, but rewatching it, I still thought it was really good. But I don't know, maybe that's the worst of the ones I rewatched. I mean, I've always liked The Game, but rewatching it this time, I found that I really had a hard time getting over all the logic problems with that movie, and I feel like I didn't absolutely love it for the first time. So maybe that one.
All right. So back to Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club. It's super influential for when it came out and the kind of movie it is. It's like...
Has it aged well?
I mean, I think I like it on an intellectual level more now than I ever have before because, again, I think it's easy for, like, you know, young, you know, middle American white guy in the year 1999 who's in, like, high school or college to just think that movie's awesome and sort of miss the point.
Right.
It is a little grating now, and, you know, the whole, at the time, you know, them making fun of IKEA furniture and everything felt, you know, unique and new, but now it's like, okay, half the fucking furniture I own is IKEA, and I actually like,
enjoy it. You like it?
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, my Billies and my Detolf and my Calaxes with all my graphic novels on them, and yeah, I still enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I think technically it's very good, and the performances are great, and I like, you know, the premise, and like there's some interesting editing and stuff like that. Watching it now, like once upon a time, I definitely would have thought to myself, like, this is one of the best movies of 1999. And especially looking back now at all the good stuff, I don't think it's as much of a runaway victory. I still think it's quite good.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's aged poorly. It's almost like I've aged out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
I still think it's
for
good.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm not like super impassioned about Fight Club anymore. Still a good movie, though.
It speaks to the youth, right? Especially at that time. And it makes you feel empowered. And, you know, when, especially if you're a lonely white dude, like it just makes you feel something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been a while since I've watched Fight Club, but everything, all of the memories I have of it are all positive. I mean, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, Helen Bonham Carter, all of them are awesome in that movie. So
Meatloaf.
Yeah, for sure. Good one. I'll mention a couple because I've got a few more. I rewatched The Matrix, which is a movie I feel like I watch at least once a year.
That's another one where I'm like, I could probably never watch that again, and I would still be able to describe every minute detail of it to you. Yeah. I've seen it so many times.
Well, it just happened that Anderson has been asking to watch The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of his teachers has mentioned it or something, so he's like, let's watch it. Can I watch it? Because he's only 12. I said, sure. Yeah, let's watch it. And he fell asleep. So that says one thing. Like the action, you know, it starts off with a bunch of action, but then there's a lot of like, what is this? It takes a while for it to explain itself.
Yeah, I mean, also your son has grown up in a world where the Avengers movies exist.
Right. Right.
Like to us, we still remember how important, like how amazing the effects and the fighting was at the time. And so, like, we have that nostalgic remembrance of the time and place. So even if other things have surpassed it, it still feels important to us. But to somebody who is now Fortnite, going back to it after, right? Yeah, I can kind of understand that. Yeah. I think he'd maybe have to be a little older and connect with it more on an intellectual level to fully appreciate it.
Yes. It's such a different world, right? Growing up in 99, computers are just on the cusp, right? Like
I didn't have the internet.
Right. It's a totally different time. Now everyone is plugged in constantly. Like we are in the Matrix now voluntarily.
Yeah.
So it's just
an integral part of that movie is phone booths, and those don't exist anymore. Like
totally. Yeah. Yeah, for
sure. That movie was on the cutting fucking edge, and it involved phone booths and flip phones.
Yeah, for
or like
sure.
That little phone where like the bottom slides out of it that was like super cool for 3 minutes.
Yeah. But I love it. I love that movie a lot. So that was good to go back and rewatch. Speaking of Go, I went and watched Go, and this is a movie that I had seen the poster throughout the years, and it always kind of stuck out as very, very 1999. Like it just had that feel, almost like you look at it and it just transports you into 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch the movie and it literally transported me back into 1990. This movie is so 1990s. It's a story with, have you seen Go?
Yep. I haven't watched that in a long time, but that is another movie that I really loved back in like my high school years, like, the early 2000s.
Yeah, I think I was able to watch it with a younger frame of mind because that's what it is. It's a story of kids in their teens or in their 20s, excuse me, and they get in some crazy shit and you see it from 3 different perspectives. Good cast. It was a lot of fun. It zips by. Directed by Doug Liman, I want to say.
I believe that's correct.
And I really enjoyed it, but it's super of the time. I mean, it's got Scott Wolfen in it as one of the leads.
Fairly positive it was the first thing I ever saw Timothy Olyphant in. And I remember after seeing Go, like thinking Timothy Olyphant was like super cool. He was like kind of young and had like spiky hair, and he's like a drug dealer. And then like other things I would have seen him in not super long after that would have been like The Girl Next Door, where he plays like a pimp
Something like that, yeah.
And then
that was the first thing I saw him in.
And then, I mean, in ensuing years after that, what is it? Narc? What's
Deadwood?
No, there's a movie with Vin Diesel where he's like a cop, he works for like a drug enforcement agency, and Timothy Olyphant is like a asshole like drug smuggler, drug dealer in that, who drives like a fancy like sports car and wears like he kind of looks like Tyler Durden, honestly. Like tinted sunglasses, spiky hair, and like a red leather jacket. And then, you know, in the fourth Die Hard movie, he plays like a computer hacker bad guy. And like, I always just thought of him as like, he's the cool, like drug dealing computer hacker guy. And nowadays he's Mr. fucking Southern Justice. Like,
yeah, he really
between
is.
being in Deadwood and what's his current show? It went away and it came back, where he's like a Southern cop.
I have no idea.
But that's like all the stuff that he does
The
now.
Mandalorian?
He's kind of a cowboy in that.
He is. Yeah, totally is.
Yeah. I just think that that's a funny transition, like the two opposite ends of the spectrum.
For sure. He was really fun in this movie. It's just it's a fun movie to watch.
It's one that I've been meaning to go back and rewatch for like 5 years, and I just haven't yet. This would have been a good opportunity, but I mean, to break the fourth wall, we are recording this in the middle of October, so you caught me in a time when I'm watching all horror movies. So
right, yeah. But crazy hijinks ensue. Sarah Polley, I think, is one of the leads.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't been in a ton of stuff. I know her best from Dawn of the Dead. I think she was in Splice, which I know is a movie that you like.
Adrian Brody.
Yeah, I haven't seen
She's
that
also
one.
directed a couple things, I think, as well. I think she's a filmmaker in addition to just being an actress.
Yeah, I don't really think she's acting much. I think it's mostly directing now, or behind the camera stuff. So, but she was good in this. Katie Holmes is in it. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. Breakneck pace. It's cool to see the three different stories and how they all kind of connect. And yeah, a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, give me another one.
I saw you watched this as well. I think for the first time for you, but another one that I hadn't seen in so long that I didn't have it logged on Letterboxd. But I watched a ton back when it first came out, as American Beauty. I gave that a revisit. Yeah,
I watched that for the first time. Almost included it in the show this season. Really close. There's things about it that I just kind of, it has an ickiness about it. I just kind of didn't really want to watch it, with Kevin Spacey and some of the themes that I knew the movie was about. And I'll tell you this, I loved the movie. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was so good. I understand why it won Best Picture. Like, I don't think I would have given it Best Picture that year.
I mean, what a fucking year, but yeah.
But I also don't have, like, it's not one of those times where it's like, oh, this shouldn't have won Best Picture. Does that make sense? Where it's like, I don't necessarily think I would have given it the Best Picture, but I can't complain that it got Best Picture, because it's a really well-made, well-acted, really interesting movie that has a lot to say about it.
Yeah. Again, having revisited it now after such a long time, and it's a movie that I really liked back in the early 2000s, I feel like I cooled on a little bit. I still do like it. There's some things that are a little grating now, like Kevin Spacey's narration and everything. Doesn't the movie open with him narrating, talking about how he's dead?
And it ends with his narration as well.
Yeah.
Which at the time was probably pretty fresh, right? Like, I don't think that it happened as much. It feels like it happens all the time now, especially with Kevin Spacey.
Well, maybe not now, because I don't know how much acting work he's getting at the moment.
I think he's back, man. I think he's back. Or at least he wants to be back. Or tried to be back.
He surely wants to be back, but after Ridley Scott wiped him from that movie that he acted in and replaced him with like Christopher Plummer or somebody.
That's right. Yeah,
he's got a long ladder to climb back up. But yeah, I mean, it feels kind of trite now. I mean, they're definitely, it's kind of the same thing that I was saying about Fight Club, where I still think it's relevant, but I think the things that I liked about it were the more flashy things that now I think are kind of distracting. And while I still, like the messages of the movie and everything, and I still think it's overall good and it's well made and has good performances and whatnot, with a little bit of hindsight, it is like, did this deserve best picture? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, it's such a well-made movie. Like, it looks great. Sam Mendes' first picture, I think, and he's gone on to do a ton of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's well acted. Chris Cooper, man, I freaking love hard-ass Chris Cooper, because I feel like that's the character that he always plays. I think in the same year with October Sky, he plays a very similar hard-ass dad. Not quite as extreme. He doesn't murder anyone in October Sky, but he's always playing the hard ass. And I just really enjoy that, because I think in real life, he's nothing like that in the interviews that I've seen. But he just has that look and feel of being this hard ass dad that doesn't support his kids and what they do and things like that. He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, American Beauty was good. It was good. I was glad to finally cross it off the list. And I think it was important to, like, we're going to give our top 10 to at least give it a shot to the best picture winner of the year. Whether or not it makes my top 10,
Yeah,
at least I can say I watched it.
This is one that I was surprised you had not seen before. And then when you didn't pick it for the show, I was also surprised. But
yeah, I should have.
Like, wow, if you were going to watch something for the first time you've never seen before, the best picture winner from that year wasn't one of your picks, but.
So I also watched Life, coming off of how much I loved Bowfinger, with Eddie Murphy this year. This movie has Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. And I wasn't really sure if it was a comedy or if it was a drama. And sure enough, it's both. It's got some dark elements to it. It deals with some heavy issues, but there's a lot of really funny stuff. It really is like a friendship movie of how these two guys end up spending their life together. You've seen this movie, right?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater, and I would have told you that I hadn't seen it since then. But then when I saw you watched it, I looked again on my Letterboxd, and I discovered a review that I wrote for it in 2013, I think. I caught it on TV and rewatched it and still liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars at the time, but had no recollection of that viewing. So I don't know exactly what that means about the movie and my opinion of it, but refresh my memory. What's the elevator pitch for it? I know that they go to jail, but I don't remember a lot of the ins and outs of the plot.
It's their life in jail. They get falsely imprisoned in the 30s, and then the movie is told in reverse, kind of. We start out with them apparently dead in the, I want to say late 90s, probably 99 to be, if the way it works out. These two inmates are burying their burned body, and an older gentleman is telling their story to them. Okay. And so you see that from before they were in prison all the way up until they died. And it's really good, really poignant, really funny.
Am I completely misremembering this or making it up? Does it end with them at a baseball game?
It sure does. Sure does.
For some reason, that image sticks out to me. The two of them as old men, finally got to a baseball game. Yeah,
spoilers, they aren't actually dead. It was a ploy to get out of prison in their 80s or 90s, however old they are. And they go watch the Yankees, and that's how the movie ends. I loved it. I just love seeing movies from the Black perspective. It's a very, it's from their perspective. A lot of shit goes down because they're Black, wrongfully. And their relationship and how they kind of forge their relationship through the years, having to deal with being in prison. And it's poignant. It's funny. It's heartbreaking. It's just a really well done movie. I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. So
nice.
One of my favorites from Eddie Murphy for sure. And Martin Lawrence is really, really good in it. Acting more than he normally does.
Yeah. At some point in the last year or 3, I picked up a used copy of the Blu-ray, kind of cheap, and got to get around to rewatching it again because, like I said, I don't remember much. But
yeah, definitely worth it.
The one other thing that I caught up with, I was we talked about, if there was anything we didn't cover on the previous 10 episodes of the show that, one of us felt we should have caught up with, and, we can do it for this episode. So I was like, I got to watch something that I haven't seen before. And I settled on the movie Notting Hill.
That was a little surprising when I saw that in the notes, not going to lie.
With Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant. I was just kind of like looking around, and it's a movie that was very big at the time that I didn't watch for, I think, somewhat obvious reasons, because it came out when I was, again, like a freshman boy in high school.
Right.
But I was it's one of the like highest grossing movies of the year. I think at the time it was the highest grossing British film of all time.
Wow.
The two of them were pretty big at that point. And from what I could tell, it still seems to, get decent reviews, and like people seem to have a pretty high opinion of it still. And I was
Does
like,
she play Julia Roberts in the movie?
No, she plays like a famous actress, but she's not playing Julia Roberts.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, you know what? Let's throw caution to the wind and watch something that I wouldn't normally watch. And I actually enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I mean, I think there's several good reasons why it is highly regarded and why it was so popular at the time. Have you seen it before?
I have not.
Yeah, so the basic premise is that Hugh Grant is just like, not a loser, but just like a kind of lovable guy going through life. He had been married, but his wife left him for another man. And the whole time I'm watching the movie, I'm like, he is the most flawless, sweet, genuine person in the world. Like, how in the world did somebody leave him? But that's just the way his character's written. He runs this little bookstore, and Julia Roberts plays a famous actress who's in London, like doing press for a movie. And she just happens into his shop, and they like bump into each other one or two times. He like spills orange juice on her and invites her back to his house so that she can like get changed or whatever. And then she like kisses him out of the blue, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then the movie turns into this like, there's long periods of time where they don't see each other, and like she seems to be really into him, but then she's also dating a famous movie star played by Alec Baldwin in the movie. And so like Hugh Grant feels rejected, and then she like comes back into his life, and it was like there's almost no stakes in this movie. It's just so like sugary sweet, and like you never feel like anything bad is going to happen. And anytime that there's any conflict, it just feels like the characters are inventing it for the sake of the movie. Like at the end, it has one of those classic, like, the guy has to like chase her to the airport to like, stop her from leaving his life forever kind of things.
Very cliche.
But the only reason it happens is because after like the last time she kind of left him in the lurch, she comes back to be like, they have their sweet moment. She's like, I may be this famous actress, but I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. And
that's where this line is from? I've heard that line before. Yeah, okay.
And Hugh Grant is trying to be like, make the smart decision. Like, I'm just this guy from a small town in London. She's this huge movie star. And like the way our relationship has been, like, I'm always going to be left in the dust. And like, that's just my lot in life. So he decides to be like, no, I won't be with you. And then like immediately changes his mind and has to like rush to
of course.
Fix things. But, it's written by Richard Curtis, who, have you ever seen the movie About Time with Domhnall Gleeson?
No, that's one that you've recommended to me like many times.
I fucking love that movie. And that's another one where it's just like this super sweet, like almost no stakes, just like really like lovely sentimental love story. It does have like a little bit of sci-fi because it has time travel involved with it, but it's not like an action movie or anything like that. It's just a really well-written romance, and the same guy wrote this. He's also the guy who wrote the Bridget Jones's Diary movies and a couple of other. He did that movie Yesterday, where everyone forgets the Beatles
I love
exist.
that movie. Yeah, I love that movie.
But then, come to find out, he also co-created Mr. Bean with Rowan Atkinson.
Talented dude, man.
Yeah. So, like, I also, when I realized it was him who wrote About Time, and he might have directed that too. I love that movie so much. I was like, yeah, I'll give Notting Hill a chance. And yeah, I mean, it's just like a feel-good easy win kind of movie. It's not super deep.
Yeah,
or
there's
anything,
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with having cliches and enjoying them, right? Like if it's done well.
Yeah. It's just like there's so many instances where you can go into a movie that like you think you're going to like or you're hoping you're going to like, and you know, you come out on the other side, you never know how you're going to feel, and like maybe it's disappointing, but I feel like there's no way to be disappointed by this movie because it just wears like what it is on its sleeve, and it's like I said, it's kind of an easy win.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only way that I feel like you could watch this movie and not like it is if you were actively trying not to like it and be cynical about it. But
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, I had a good time with it. I understand why it was and is so popular.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I'm sure I could watch that one. I've got a wife who has probably seen it or wouldn't mind watching it. We don't have a lot of crossover in our interests of movies, but I bet I could get her to watch that.
Or you could just watch it alone in your bedroom at 1 a.m. like I did.
Sure. Doesn't sound weird or awkward at all. All right, that's all you've seen though, right?
Yeah, that's like all I caught up with.
Okay, the only other one I have listed is American Movie, which is
Classic.
I guess technically a movie, but it's a documentary. I guess it's still a film.
It is still a movie. I think the documentaries do count as films.
All right. But yeah, I'd never seen this one. It's something I'd heard a lot about throughout the years, especially coming off of all of the independent movies that were made in the 90s, right? Like it feels like Kevin Smith made Clerks and then everyone's like, I can do that. But yeah, this is super entertaining. Just this totally super interesting, entertaining flick about what a weird dude, like such a crazy weird dude.
I just coincidentally was trying to explain this movie to someone the other day, and the best way I could come up with to describe, is it Mark Borchardt? Is that the guy's name? The main guy at the documentary.
That's close. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, so it's about this guy who is trying to make a horror movie, but he's like got no budget, and it's just like he's getting friends and family members to be in it, and half of them don't want to have anything to do with it, but they're just kind of helping him out. And then like his best friend, who's just like his brain has been addled by drugs.
Dude is so that dude is so funny, man.
Yeah, and but then Mark Borchardt, the way I was trying to describe him to someone is I was like, if there was a real life Napoleon Dynamite, this guy's kind of it. Like he's just weird.
Oh yeah. Weird
looking. You know, he's trying to make a movie about a coven of witches, but he never pronounces it right. He always calls it coven instead of coven. Right. And it's just, yeah, it's like sad, but like undeniably funny at the same time. Like this guy is just like doing a terrible job of everything, but it's so fun to watch.
He's so motivated though. It's hilarious. It's poignant. It's sad. It's like it's got it all, man. It's so good. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's one of those, you know, there's all different kinds of documentaries. There's like true crime and whatnot, but this is one of those ones where it's just like, this documentary never needed to be made. No one could have planned to make this. It's just like the person who made it just happened to know that this other human existed and followed them around with a camera for a while. And just the material they got was magic. And
it's so good.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I love American Movie.
Yeah, good one. Another good one to cross off the list. So
yeah.
All right, that's 1999 as far as movies that we watched, including the 10 that we watched on the show. Why don't we jump into some awards?
Sure.
So we got very serious.
Just a bunch of random categories here.
Very serious awards.
Yeah, I think we thought about doing like, best actor among the 10 movies we watched for this season and all that, but I don't know. This is just kind of what we ended up with, something a little different.
All right. So let's start off with our first award, the Honorary Lieutenant Joe Bookman Award for Best Cumulative Performance across multiple films in the same season of movies I missed. The classic award that we're going to give out every year for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if we can, I think we have to.
Oh, for sure. For sure. This is our first winner. So why don't you give us the nominees and we'll discuss.
Yeah, so basically, if the title didn't make any sense, like we watched 10 movies for this season and there just so happened to be a little bit of crossover in some of the actors. So the nominees are Philip Baker Hall for his performances in Magnolia and The Talented Mr. Ripley. Philip Seymour Hoffman, also for Magnolia and The Talented Mr. Ripley. And Enrico Colantoni for Stigmata and Galaxy Quest. So Enrico Colantoni, he was the main alien, like the friendly aliens in Galaxy Quest. And he also had a kind of small role as like random priest in Stigmata.
Yeah, he was the villain. What was that guy's name, the villain of the movie?
What is his name? Price or
Pierce
Jonathan
or
Price.
Something
like that? Jonathan Price. Yeah.
He was like his Robin, basically. He just followed him around and did
his
whatever
ward,
he said.
His right-hand man.
He sure did. Philip Seymour Hoffman was in Magnolia the nurse, and then he was Dickie's like best friend, and he was so good. And then Philip Baker Hall was the game show host in Magnolia, and
Jimmy Gator.
Yep. And then the cop at the end.
Yeah, and then he kind of played Mr. Bookman from Seinfeld a little bit in one scene at the end of The Talented Mr. Ripley.
So you know how I would lean, right? I've gushed all season long about how much I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. So that's the person that I lean towards. However,
Philip Seymour Hoffman is like, I feel like the obvious go-to because he's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
However,
personally, I think it should go to Philip Baker Hall.
100%. 100%. He deserves this award. I mean, it's named after his character in Seinfeld. Let's give it to our boy Philip Baker Hall for Magnolia and The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the two performances, he's a big part. He's kind of the character that, in a manner of speaking, everything revolves around in Magnolia, and he's really good. I mean, I remember you and I being so surprised because we only knew him from like little roles and things like Seinfeld, but then how good he was in it. He doesn't have a ton to do in Talented Mr. Ripley, but to be fair, while he is good, neither does Philip Seymour Hoffman. So
sure. Yeah, let's go with Philip Baker Hall. He definitely deserves the award, especially since it's named after him. So congratulations, Philip Baker Hall. Come on down. All right, why don't you give us the next category?
Yeah, second category is the Tool Time Award for Best Fictional Film or Television Show. The nominees are Galaxy Quest from the film Galaxy Quest. What Do Kids Know? The fictional TV quiz show from Magnolia that Philip Baker Hall's character is the host of. And Chubby Rain from Bowfinger, the fake sci-fi movie that they're filming without Eddie Murphy's character knowing that he's in it.
This is a tough one. It's between two for me. You know, Galaxy Quest is about the show Galaxy Quest. It's so integral to the show. But damn, Chubby Rain, man, that movie is what I'm talking about. It's got everything. You know
I'm full on Chubby Rain.
It's got everything. I'm torn.
The aliens come down in the raindrops. That's why it's called Chubby Rain.
All right, let's do it. Chubby Rain, our winner for the Tool Time Award for Best Fictional Film or Television Show. Congratulations. All right, the Still Funny After 10 Rewatches Award for Best Catchphrase or One-Liner.
Yeah, so the nominees for this one are By Grabthar's Hammer, by the Sons of Warvan, You Shall Be Avenged from Galaxy Quest.
So good. That's such a good line, man. It's such a good line.
Which is Alan Rickman's character's line from the show.
So good.
Gotcha, suckers, from Bowfinger. The big line that Eddie Murphy's character is supposed to say at the end of their fictional movie they're making within the movie.
So good, man.
Respect the cock and tame the cunt from Magnolia. Tom Cruise going all out.
The delivery is what really sells that one too.
I considered just leaving it at respect the cock, but I was like, he went there, so can we.
Yeah.
And then keep it together from Bowfinger.
And Bowfinger representing for sure. Where are you leaning?
Man, I mean, just because it's so dumb, but it's so great at the same time. I love Gotcha Suckers.
It's good, but I think it's inferior of the two Bowfinger lines, to be honest.
You like Keep It Together?
Keep It Together is so good. It's like you mentioned on the show when we recorded it back then that
I will
you just
say
pull
that
it out.
in my day-to-day life. Randomly, it'll pop in there, and I will say that depending on the circumstance. So I'm fine with that. I'll give you a Keep It Together.
Is that the best one compared to? I mean, the Galaxy Quest is good. I don't love it compared to the other ones, but it is a line for sure.
I mean, I
do
think
enjoy the
like
line.
a catchphrase or one-liner, like it kind of the power of it is not only is it memorable, but like I said, the fact that it's repeated, like I will repeat. I feel like I'll say gotcha suckers here and there too, but like I'm never in my day-to-day life saying to people, respect the cock, tame the cunt.
You're
for more than one reason.
You don't say that at the comic shop? You don't tell, that's not how you like wrap up their comics in the bag?
And while I know that the line from Galaxy Quest is like his catchphrase, I didn't put it down, but I think I even said it in the intro to that episode. The other line from Galaxy Quest that I kind of remember more myself is never give up, never surrender.
Yeah. Well, my vote is keep it together. That's my vote.
Like I said, I'll give it to you. It's
all right. Bowfinger, come on down.
I still love it.
Back-to-back awards for Bowfinger.
Next one is the Muddy May Suggins Award for Best Character Name or Nickname. That one's kind of an in-joke with me and our friend Joel. It's a reference to The Simpsons, which I'll let people look up and discover for themselves.
All right.
But yeah, just best name in one of the movies we watched. So the nominees are Rose from The Cider House Rules.
Played by Erykah Badu.
Harry Lonsdale from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. And Guy Fleegman from Galaxy Quest.
This is tough. I'm leaning Rose.
Yeah?
Just because it's so unique. She's such a unique character, such a unique name. She's got it twice. I like Guy Fleegman. Hatchet Harry is interesting, but I'm leaning Rose.
I mean, when I was writing down the nominees for this category, it was hard for me not to just make them all characters from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Sure, because everyone
that
has
is one of the things from his movies, like, between, Hatchet Harry, fucking Jason Statham's name is Bacon. One of the other guys' name is Soap. There's Barry the Baptist. I mean, even in like Snatch and pretty much all of his movies have a ton of nicknames. I'm personally a fan of Hatchet Harry myself.
All right. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You got your first award, Hatchet Harry Lonsdale. Come on down. You are our first winner of the Muddy May Suggins Award. Congratulations. All right. The Genius or Madness Award for Craziest Plot Twist. The nominees are Sebastian's Sudden Death in Cruel Intentions, Raining Frogs in Magnolia, or Ripley conveniently getting away with murder over and over again in The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah. I mean, Sebastian just all of a sudden getting hit by that car and then moments later dying and then cutting to like the funeral or whatever is pretty wild.
It's so madness. That's madness at its finest. They just needed something, so they just killed him off. And that's so crazy. I mean,
it feels like the immediate reaction should be to go with Magnolia because like a big part of that movie, a thing that people know about it is, wow, it rains frogs at the end. And why does that happen? And it affects everything. But, God, personally, just because of our experience with it, I think that Sebastian getting hit by that car in Cruel Intentions would be my pick.
I think it's a crazy. I mean, the question is it genius or madness? That's the award, right? Like, I think it's a little bit of both. I don't know. I'm gonna go.
It's just so weird that like it doesn't feel like the ending of the movie is supposed to be that Ryan Phillippe's character dies and then there's fallout from it, because there's no like, someone's hunting him or, he has this disease or something. It's almost like they were like, we need him to die. I don't know. Just have him get hit by a car. Just have him walking in the street. Like, It comes out of nowhere. It is truly a fucking plot twist. I mean, if the title is Genius or Madness Awards for Craziest Plot Twist, I think that kind of fits.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sebastian's sudden death was bananas. And what's crazy is I'd seen the movie before and I still forgot that it happened. That's how crazy it was. So yeah, Sebastian, Ryan Phillippe, come on down.
Next up, we have the Accidentally Hilarious Award for Most Unintentionally Funny Scene. Nominees include the several times during Stigmata whenever the main character gets possessed and the the wounds of Christ appear on her.
Gosh, okay, so let's go ahead and finish.
Catherine gets shamed by her parents and peers at the end of Cruel Intentions. And this isn't exactly a scene, but you put down Michael Caine's accent from the Cider House Rules.
Let's start with the opening of the movie with his accent because it's so crazy. All right, start with Stigmata. We've been putting out on our Instagram. We put out videos from clips from our episodes, and so I put these together. And gosh, every Stigmata possession scene had me just dying because of how ridiculous it is. And there's times where I'm cutting these things together, and the look on her face is neither scary or interesting. It's just weird. It's like not even a good possession scene. It just had me cracking up every time I saw that. And then again, this is on our Instagram. Catherine getting shamed by her parents. Man, she walks out of the school, and everyone's discovered her diary, or Sebastian's diary. I think what's her name was handing them out to everyone. And they just shake their head no. I'll never get over that. Like everyone. And she's got tears streaming down her face. No, she doesn't get in trouble. Nothing actually happens. There's no consequence.
Well, presumably there is a consequence shortly after, but the movie's basically done at that point. Right. But doesn't her father or somebody walk over and take her necklace off and open it up and find the cocaine that she had hidden in it?
Yep. And then even then they just shake their head no. It's so funny. I love that. And then, of course, Michael Caine's accent. I mean, he won the Academy Award for it, so I don't know how funny it is. But, man, again, editing, listening to those clips, watching the movie, it's just wrong. What are you thinking?
I don't know if I find the Stigmata scenes as funny as I do frustrating, because I just feel like that director didn't know what the fuck he was doing when he was making that movie.
That's a fair assessment.
So it's confounding more than funny. It kind of pisses me off more than anything. I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards the ending of Cruel Intentions, because it is just funny we discussed when we reviewed the movie that all the kids act like adults, but their parents are never around. And so maybe the first time we even see their father is in that end scene just so that he can give her a disapproving look. And just the idea that everybody got their hands on copies of that diary and then read it and immediately were just this person that we know as one thing we now absolutely hate, and they're just all standing there eyeing her and judging her. It's people funny. Had a flip or a switch on their back, flipped from happy to angry. It's that whole movie is tone deaf, and I think that ending is fits right in with the rest of the film in that regard. So I'd kind of go with that myself.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, come on down. Cruel Intentions wins another one for most hilarious award for unintentional funny scene. All right, the Grand Theft Cinema Award for supporting character who stole the whole movie. We've got Tom Cruise in Magnolia, Angelina Jolie in Girl Interrupted, and Jude Law in The Talented Miss Ripley. I think two of these three won Academy Awards. Did Jude Law win?
Angelina Jolie did.
Jude Law was nominated. Tom Cruise was nominated as well.
Was he? I mean, I know that we talked about it on the show, and when I was watching the special features on the Magnolia Blu-ray, all the talk of Tom Cruise this, Tom Cruise that, and how Paul Thomas Anderson was actively trying to force the studio away from making Tom Cruise the focus because it's such an ensemble. So that one legitimately feels like it deserves to win just because of that. But then again, same thing with Angelina Jolie, where it's supposed to be, what's her name who played the lead in that?
Winona Ryder.
Yeah, Winona Ryder. It's supposed to be Winona Ryder's movie, but then Angelina Jolie got all the attention and got the Oscar win for it. If I'm talking about my personal opinion, I think Jude Law is who I would pick legitimately based on my own personal opinion, because he's such a strong presence in that movie. And then the entire movie feels like a different film after he's out of it. And that's halfway through the film. It goes from being one thing to a different thing. And all of a sudden it's just this kind of suspenseful thriller. Whereas before it just, I don't know, it was more of this flight of fancy drama, but I don't know. Where do you stand?
I think Angelina Jolie's out of the three. She's the one that won the award. The other two, I think, were nominated. I think Michael Caine ended up winning that award, the supporting actor award.
Right. Yeah.
Angelina Jolie I honestly didn't think she was great. I don't even know if it was her or if it was the character or both, but I feel like there was people that actually outshone her in that movie. She's so bombastic, right? I think that's kind of what people took away from that.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, man. I mean, listen to the Magnolia episode and I just gush over Tom Cruise in that movie. And I feel like he was really, really good. And I don't want to take anything away. And I think probably deserved the Oscar. I'm with you though. Jude Law, like, is so magnetic on the screen. Like he's so easy to fall in love with. And that's what you need from that character. You need to be able to like feel the things that Matt Damon is feeling, the things that Gwyneth Paltrow is feeling about him. Like even Philip Seymour Hoffman, like everyone loves Dickie, right? Like he has to come off so lovable and yet still be kind of an asshole, which he is, and do it so well and look so good while doing it. So yeah, Jude Law, come on down.
Right on.
You're a winner for supporting character who stole the whole movie. All right, next award. You're going to explain this one.
Our penultimate category is the Goofy Movie Award for the most perfect cast. And you could insert a rim shot there for the people who actually understand the reference. In a Goofy movie, it's basically a road trip film where Max, Goofy's son, wants to go to this concert by a guy named Powerline, who's basically like the Michael Jackson of the Goofy movie universe. But Goofy is trying to take his son on like this fishing trip and go like the same route that his father had taken him on. And he has like fond memories of it. But Max is so like, you know, too cool for school, doesn't want to hang out with his dad. And so when they actually do go fishing, Goofy wants to pass down the knowledge his father had given him on how to do the perfect cast. And it's this ridiculous thing that involves like 10 different moves. And Goofy like teaches it to him, but Max doesn't care. And then at the end of the movie, they actually end up at the Powerline concert on stage with Powerline. And there's this moment of awkwardness of like, uh-oh, what do we do now that we're here? And so Max says to Goofy, Dad, do the perfect cast. And the two of them start dancing, like doing the moves of the perfect cast. And then Powerline does it with them. And you had the idea for like the movie with the best cast. And I was like, what pun can I make about a good cast? The perfect cast from Goofy movie. It makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense.
Because the best ideas require 2 minutes of explanation.
For sure.
So the Goofy Movie Award for the most perfect cast. We've got Magnolia, The Talented Mr. Ripley, and Bowfinger.
I mean, Magnolia for me it just has so many like home run hitters in it. That's the whole thing about
that movie is it's a ensemble. It's like almost an anthology film. It's just like taking a bunch of people and giving them like their own little stories to tell.
Yeah. And everyone is just knocking it out of the park. I mean, Bowfinger I love, and the cast is great. We talked about it on the episode. You know, Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy are excellent in their parts, but the ragtag group that they have is really enjoyable and fun, and I really like them as well. I mean, The Talented Mr. Ripley has a great cast too, with everyone also doing their thing. Philip Seymour Hoffman is, you know, in both Magnolia and Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah, I would say that Bowfinger, more so than the cast, I just love the characters. Like they're so much fun to hang out with. But Magnolia, I mean, in a category like this, how can you not go with Magnolia?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, just Philip Seymour Hoffman and Tom Cruise and William H. Macy and John C. Reilly and Philip Baker Hall, and it's just name after name after name.
Yeah, for sure. And they're the perfect cast for sure for this year, 1999. Yeah. All right, Magnolia, Paul Thomas Anderson, come on down. You get your award. All right, our final award, and why not end on something sexy? The Erotic Thriller Award for the most thrilling scene of eroticism. It rolls right off the tongue. All right, our nominees are the Club 54 orgy. I think that's what it was, right? In Summer of Sam, they like go to the club and then it's...
I remember the scene. I don't remember if they were at 54.
I think they go to the club and then they get invited somewhere else. So it wasn't actually at the club.
Yeah, you may be right.
But you got the idea. Rule-breaking sex with Ryan and Reese when they're not going to do it because he's finally good. But guess what? Less than 24 hours later,
yeah,
they changed their mind. And then secret farmhouse sex with Toby and Charlize and the Cider House Rules.
So just for clarification, like, is it like hottest sex scene? Like, what is our actual criteria here?
I don't know. I just wanted to put something in there
because, I mean, I don't know. There's something like, you get to see Charlize Theron's butt, but just the characters and the circumstances in that one, I don't find that scene particularly erotic. Yeah.
Maybe. Do you think Tobey Maguire could do a scene that was an erotic thriller? Do you think he's got it in him, or is he just too goofy?
I think he does. I think the character he's playing in this movie is too goofy. I mean, he's basically playing a man-child. Like, he's never left the 1 mile radius of the house that he's been raised in, where it's just like him spending time with kids into adulthood. And he's just kind of this blank slate, all shucks, like doesn't really know what's going on. Like, he knows he likes Charlize Theron, but you almost get the idea, if she stood there naked in front of him, he wouldn't know what to do with her.
Right.
But yeah, so not in this movie, but yes, I mean, I do think Tobey Maguire is a good enough dramatic actor, but yeah, in this case, I don't think I could go with Cider House Rules in this category.
The reason I actually added this is because I wanted to have something for the Summer of Sam to at least be nominated for, because we had almost nothing for nominations, and I had almost had 2 nominations for Summer of Sam, and that was boring wife sex that he has.
I mean, that scene's probably more memorable for me.
Oh boy!
Where she's wearing the wig, and isn't she like trying to give him a blowjob or something? And then he's just like, no, just we can't do this. Take off the wig, and we'll just do it like normal.
Yeah, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
The dude is such a sleaze. But yeah, that was kind of the idea.
I don't think I want to go with Cider House Rules because of the reasons I mentioned. I also feel like Cruel Intentions we should not go with, because that movie is trying to be an erotic thriller. And they never fucking go for it. Like, you don't even really see the sex scene, I don't think, like nudity or not. Like, I think that the sexiest part of that movie is the 1 or 2 scenes where Sarah Michelle Gellar is like toying with Ryan Phillippe and like being really sultry. But honestly, it's like I said on the show, if they were gonna, try and make this erotic thriller and go all the way to making it rated R, even though it was a movie obviously geared towards, teenagers rather than full-on adults, it needed a nude scene. I think that movie disqualifies itself because it tried to do something but didn't go all the way. So I think, honestly, I'm landing with you on Summer of Sam. It's like, and I don't even really feel like, based on the 3 options here, that I'm giving it a pity award. I think it deserves it better than the other 2.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm with you. Club 54, outside of Club 54 orgy scene. John Leguizamo, Marissa Tomei. No, not Marissa Tomei. Who was that? It was, what's her name?
Yes, I cannot think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, come on down. You guys got the Erotic Thrill Award for most thrilling scene of eroticism.
John Leguizamo and wife.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna. He's got to be wife sex. I'll never get over that, man. I'll never get over it. He can cheat all he wants and do all the craziest stuff, but he can only have missionary wife sex with his wife. It's so crazy. What else? All right, man. We've talked a lot about 1999 a lot, and we talked about how good of a year is throughout the 10 episodes of the show. Let's see how good it actually was with the movies that we watched. We've got our top 10 faves of 99.
Yeah, so this is just all movies, like the our top 10 movies of 1999, regardless of what we watched for the show. Do you just want me to give you my 10 to 1?
Go give me 10 to 5 or 10 to 6, and then we'll back and forth the top 5.
Okay. So I wrote it on our little list of things to do here. I feel like we have to at least give a couple minutes of honorable mentions because there's so many good movies to pick from.
Well, give those at the end. Let's give those at the end. That way you don't give them away.
But starting with number 10 for me is going to be Election, the Alexander Payne movie. Once again, Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Just hilarious and fucked up, and has probably the best opening line in all of cinema. Number 9 for me is going to be Bowfinger, We talked about it on the show. A movie I've always loved. I think it deserves a lot more love than it classically seems to get.
Can I spoil number 9 for me was also Bowfinger? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. That's something that you watched for the show made the list.
For sure.
Number 8 for me, honestly, how can you talk about comedies from 1999 and not mention Office Space? I mean, it's just ubiquitous at this point. It's another movie I've watched 1,000 times. I know nobody watched it in 1999.
Right.
But
not in the
like
theaters, at
out,
least. Yeah.
Came out in 99 and it deserves some credit. I know not a lot of people agree with me on this one, but for number 7 is, I go back and forth. Maybe my favorite Stanley Kubrick film, Eyes Wide Shut. Tom Cruise once again, Nicole Kidman.
Really, your favorite?
Maybe. I mean, it's
Wow.
hard. For me, it would either be Doctor Strangelove, Clockwork Orange, or Eyes Wide Shut. And I feel like depending on the day, I really do love Eyes Wide Shut. I have since the first time I watched it. And it's a movie that like every couple of years I'll rewatch it and think like, I don't know, most people don't like this that much. Maybe I won't like it this time around. And I always love it all over again. I just think it's a great movie. And number 6 for me, and I legitimately place this in my top 10 because say what you will about it, but I love this movie. I have a personal connection to it. I've loved it ever since I first saw it on VHS. And it's Chill Factor, starring Cuba Gooding Jr. and Skeet Ulrich.
That was going to be my guess. Yep.
It's basically Speed, but instead of speed, it's all about temperature. They have a bomb and they have to keep it cold, otherwise it'll blow up. It's an action movie. It's, you know, it's dumb and it's corny, but I fucking love it. Like, I legitimately love it. It's not like a wink and a nod thing for me. I legitimately love that movie. And in my mind, it should be thought of on the same pedestal as like the best 90s, like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like, I love it. I love Chill Factor. That's my 10 through 6.
That's the one thing I've known about you for sure.
I don't know. I just think go in blind and or like without any preconceived notions, and I dare people not to have fun with it.
Did we watch it on the show on Sidetracked?
We did, and looking back on it, I hate myself for choosing it when I did because we used to alternate every week. One of us would pick the movie for the two of us to watch for the show. And you one week picked Sonic's Gate, which is a documentary about the Seattle Sonics and like their stadium or some shit. And, you know, you're into sports. You live in Washington State, so like I get it. But I fucking hated that movie. I thought it was so boring and just uninteresting to me. And then like
as punishment?
Out of spite or something, because you picked a movie that was like so you, I decided to pick Chill Factor for the next week. And then I in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that you actually hated Chill Factor as much as you said. I feel like you were trying to just get back at me for how much I hated Sonic's Gate.
That sounds right.
Because I think you gave it a 1. And in my heart of hearts, I don't think it's possible to give Chill Factor a 1 because it's just stupid and fun enough that I think it at least deserves a 2. So trust me, I have always hated myself for when I got you to watch that movie, getting you to watch it at that moment in time.
I'm going to give it another shot.
Yeah. I think in Avoid, it's a super fun movie. And like Skeet Ulrich and Cuba Gooding Jr. together, fantastic. Amazing chemistry.
It's so funny. All right. My number 10 is 10 Things I Hate About You. It also has like a little special place in my heart since it's filmed here in where
could have
I
had
lived.
an even more special place in your heart if you'd gotten out of bed a couple hours early.
Yes, that's also true. Maybe that plays a part into it as well. But I think
Jesse
it's just a
could
fun
have
movie.
been in that movie. Like years later, Jesse would be in love with Heath Ledger because he played the Joker in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And Jesse had a chance to be immortalized in a movie with Heath Ledger. And he just decided, I'd rather sleep in.
Hey, man, we all have regrets, right? Yeah, that was filmed in Tacoma, where I used to live. And the high school band was my high school band. And they needed a drummer. I don't know. We didn't have a lot of drummers in our band anyways. And my friend Syra, who's in the movie, she plays the cymbals. You see her. Nice close-up shot. called me and it's like, we need a drummer, come in. And I'm like, nah, I'm sleeping. It's summer. What a moron I was, for sure.
I still to this day can't believe that story.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Like, you had a chance to be in a movie and you like, all you had to do was get out of bed and like throw on yesterday's dirty clothes and you could have been in a film.
You know, back then I just didn't care about movies at all. So I don't know how things have changed. All right. So that's my number 10 things I hate about you. I think it's good. Number 9, Bowfinger. We mentioned that. We mentioned it on the show, or we recorded an entire episode about that. It's just so funny. It's just so funny. I've been trying to get more and more people to watch it because it's just so good. Number 8, Being John Malkovich. I watched this past calendar year. Like, I watched it before we did the show, or had the idea for the show, and just totally fell in love with it. It's just so weird and so good, and just everything about it I really, really loved. So
it's another one that I know I like, but I really need to rewatch it. It's been a while.
I think it's high on my list because of how recent I've seen it and how much I enjoyed it. I think that helps for sure. Number 7 is The Sixth Sense.
Really?
I think it might had a chance to even be higher. I watched it again within the last calendar year as well. I think it still really holds up, despite.
I just don't think in general I ever knew you were like a particular fan of that movie.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think, Haley Joel Osment is really good in it. Bruce Willis is really subdued in a role that, especially at that time, I don't think I'd seen him do anything like that before. And even with knowledge of the big twist, right? Like, it's still a quality, well-made movie, and I think it totally works. So yeah, number 7 on my list. And then number 6 is Fight Club. We talked about that a little bit when you with your rewatch. It's been a while since I've seen Fight Club, and I'm kind of afraid to rewatch it to see, how there's times where it's like, it just doesn't, it's not as good as you remember it. I don't know if that's going to happen if I rewatch it, but where it is in my memory banks is in a really good spot. I don't know if I want to risk ruining it at all. Like, with any of
I think
the
you
stuff.
can safely rewatch it. I mean, like I said earlier, maybe don't put it on quite the pedestal I used to, but
Sure.
I still think it's a really good, well-made movie. And just from an intellectual standpoint, I think there's still a lot to like about it.
Yep.
And since we're here, like I said, I just rewatched it. It's my number 5.
Okay.
Like, I think Once Upon a Time, it could have been my 1 or 2 of the year 1999.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. If this
it's
is
dropped
like,
a couple spots, but
if this is 2005 and recording this, it's probably number 1 or number 2. Like, it's probably really up there, up high. But
I mean, it's a great year. We've talked about it ad nauseum through this season, but
yeah,
I mean, it's still number 5 for me. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I got to rewatch it because, like, if I hadn't and I was going on my recollections from 15, 20 years ago, it probably would have been higher, but I think it works just fine in slot 5.
All right, maybe I'll give it a shot again.
I think you should.
Yeah, I mean, it's Fincher, right? Like, regardless of even the message or content, dude makes excellent pictures. Like, he's so talented. And then he makes Mank, but we'll move on from that.
I mean, Mank might even be good. Just that shit was not for me.
I know. I think I need to rewatch since it's come out. I've watched Citizen Kane. And I wonder if having seen that now, if that affects anything or not. I don't know. I might have to make another try.
I don't know. Like, not to throw too much shade at Mank and or David Fincher, but like, yeah, Citizen Kane gets thrown around a lot as like it's the movie you say when you talk about the best movie ever made. Citizen Kane is a really great movie, though. Like, Mank, maybe it's good for the right person in the right circumstance, but it's not fucking Citizen Kane. Just because they're both like old-timey movies about like, men in positions of power or whatever.
But it's about
like,
the making of Citizen Kane, right? Like, yeah, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
I
thought more so you were talking about like, oh, it's a old movie about old-timey times. It's in black and white.
No, it's more about the making of Citizen Kane or the writing of Citizen Kane. Like, Mank was one of the writers of Citizen Kane, right? Like, that's what the whole film is about.
I feel like I forgot 90% of that movie the day after I watched it, Matt, so I honestly couldn't tell you. I know it's about like old Hollywood, and
I'm pretty sure that's what Mank is about. So
yeah,
that's
maybe
why
you're
I mentioned
right.
it. All right, so that was your number 5.
Yeah, so Fight Club's my 5 if you want to bounce back and forth.
Yeah. My number 5 was a movie that we actually watched this season, and that's Magnolia.
Oh.
I freaking love that movie, man. I freaking love it. It's 3 hours long, and it wasn't long enough. Like I freaking loved it. I just could live in that world, even though it's like sad. I loved the music. All the stuff from Amy Mann was so good. Performances are just really strong. Love Tom Cruise. Love Philip Seymour Hoffman. Just the entire cast is phenomenal and beautifully shot, well directed, well acted. Just a great picture. So that made my top 5.
Nice. That's awesome. Number 4 for me is The Iron Giant. Just a great, sappy, sentimental, fun, extremely beautiful movie.
I go back and forth on whether I've seen that or not.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Well, you should definitely watch it then, either way.
I feel like I've either seen it or I've seen a lot of it, like a lot of different parts at different times. And I really need to give it a full try.
It's a gorgeous movie. It has that like style of hand-drawn animation that we just unfortunately don't really get anymore. I mean, CG animated movies largely look incredible, but God, there's a part of me that just wishes that there could be more movies that look like this nowadays. You know, it's
Brad Bird, right? Did he direct that?
Yep, Brad Bird. It was like his premise, I think. Like I think he like wrote it and directed it. You know, Vin Diesel in a very Groot kind of role where he doesn't say a whole lot, but he's the voice of the giant.
Oh.
And just like such a touching story, like a really sentimental, lovely story of like friendship. And at the same time, it's like it includes just like really cool, like retro futurism, robot designs and concepts. And it's just like all these things rolled into a package that I never would have expected to work. And I just love it. It's so good. So good.
Yeah.
The Iron Giant.
I need to
Superman.
Yeah, see, I've seen all that stuff, but I don't think I've seen the full movie. I gotta go.
I mean, even if you have and you just don't remember, in short order, you need to sit down and watch the Iron Giant. It's so fucking good.
That was number 4, right?
Yep.
My number 4. Okay, my top 4 are just movies that I've watched like the most, and that's kind of why they're my favorite. Is because I just keep rewatching them. Number 4 for me is Dogma. I love Dogma. It's maybe my second favorite Kevin Smith movie.
After Cop Out?
No, after
Tusk?
No, after
Red State?
Nope, after Yoga Hosers.
Yoga Hosers?
Yeah. Yoga Hosers is my number 1. Where Kevin Smith plays a Nazi sausage.
Oh boy.
Did you know that?
Nope. Nope, I did not.
Did you know they're making a third Jay and Silent Bob movie? That's the next one that they're doing, is another Jay and Silent Bob movie. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but that movie that he just had come out this year, the 4:30 movie or whatever, looks really good.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping that that would signal like him getting away from the goddamn View Askew universe.
No, man.
But
back to the
I guess the movie didn't make enough waves, so he's right back in, huh?
I guess so. I don't follow all that stuff that closely. I just saw that it was happening. But back to Dogma. I just think it's so good. I think the acting, the story, it's different from all the other View Askew stuff. When I say View Askew stuff, I'm talking about up till Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That's where it kind of ends for me. I know technically they did more, but the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is the end of the View Askew universe, in my opinion.
I'm right there with you.
and Dogma is just a different tone. It's when Kevin Smith was still attempting to be a filmmaker. I want to say it was the first script that Ben Affleck read of Kevin Smith's, and he was like, "You got to make this, and I really want to be a part of it." And
well, that was supposed to be his follow-up to Clerks, right? At the end of the Clerks credits, doesn't it say like Dogma is coming or something like that?
I actually think Dogma was his first movie that he wrote. But
it was what he was intending to make after Clerks originally,
so.
Right?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, he had it for a long time. So I just think it's really good. I think it's funny. I think it's poignant. I think it's got a lot of heart. Deals with some really interesting stuff, especially with all the Catholicism stuff. And I don't know. I think it has something to say. It's fun when even if you don't agree with everything. It's fun when a filmmaker actually has something to say, even if it's hidden behind a demon in a rubber poop monster costume. Like he was attempting something, and I miss that Kevin Smith. So I really like Dogma, number 4.
Yeah, first Kevin Smith movie I ever saw it in the theater, and I as well am a fan. Number 3 for me is a movie we talked about on the show, but I had seen it before, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I thought you were going to say Stigmata.
No, I had not seen that before.
Oh, that's right.
It's just super formative for me. One of those movies, along with the likes of Dogma and Fight Club, that formed my personality when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Just quoting it, rewatching it over and over again, recommending it to all my friends and getting them all to watch it, and then them loving it, reinforcing to me how great of a movie it was. And it's one of those things we kind of talked about with Fight Club, where potentially over the years I could see how it would fall off, but it never does. Whenever I rewatch it, I just love it all over again, and it's probably still my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. So
yeah, that was close to making my list, really close. I had it, but not quite. Number 3 for me is Princess Mononoke. Love Studio Ghibli. I got into it kind of late. You didn't see this movie when it originally came out, but I want to say Spirited Away was the first Ghibli movie that I saw.
I think that's true. We watched it towards the end of the Sidetrack podcast, and then I think after that you watched Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, and then after I watched Spirited Away, and I was like, holy shit, this is what's being made. Because for me, I'm just not into anime, really. The genre of anime is that's such a broad statement. I should probably take that back. But the mainstream anime stuff, like the One Piece, and I don't know, just a lot of the stuff that I'm just not really into it. A lot of the early stuff I saw was Dragon Ball Z. I wasn't really into that. And then I started watching the Ghibli stuff, and it's just on a whole other level to me. And maybe that's not fair to some of the better anime stuff that I haven't seen, but there's just so much of it that I don't like, and I was kind of
there's a part of me that hearing you say things like that wants to be combative, but at the same time, I do like anime in general. There's a lot that I don't like, but for me, more so, there's just so fucking much that I haven't seen.
That's fair.
I'm sure there are things that I could recommend you that you would love that you just haven't seen, but it's one of those things that's hard to get into from the outside. So I fully understand that.
Yeah, and maybe what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking of it is it's like that. I don't even know how to describe it, but girly anime, you know what I mean? I don't know. Just the cheesy made for kids anime stuff, that's just not for me. It's just too weird.
I mean, if I can give you a recommendation right now, you probably heard Dax and I talk about it on Triple Threat Theater, but there's a anime called Your Name.
Mm-hmm.
That is just a fucking work of art, and it has an incredible story. And if you don't remember us reviewing it on the show and you don't remember what it's about, don't go refresh your memory. Just watch it because it's fucking amazing. Yeah. But
that's how I feel
stuff
about
like that. I guarantee that if you like Ghibli, you'll end up liking that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that's like that. That's not, Chainsaw Man and One Punch Man and
totally
One Piece and Dragon Ball and Pokemon.
Exactly. And me throwing out that wide net of saying I don't like anime is just not true and not fair to the genre and the medium. But the stuff in my head that I can see that I can't fully explain is the things that I don't like, the things that I've seen. And then Ghibli opened me up to a whole new world. And I understand that there's a lot more out there that is akin to what Studio Ghibli is putting out. But Princess Mononoke, man, I actually went and saw it in the theaters here. They were re-releasing all the Ghibli movies in theaters this year as a big celebration. And I saw it just recently again in the theaters, and it was awesome to see on the big screen. When you talk about the Iron Giant and watching hand-drawn animation, I mean, does it get much better than what they're doing over at Ghibli? It's so good. It's so good. And
I feel like Princess Mononoke is a good crossover movie to get into Ghibli as well, because for people like us, because, it has all the typical forest spirits and things that's in a lot of Ghibli stuff, but it also has someone riding a horse and shooting monsters with a bow and arrow. And
yeah, he's not riding a horse though. He's riding a reindeer.
Well, whatever that antelope thing is, or I mean,
but And you've known me for a long time, for 20 years now. You know the style of things that I like. You know, like I'm drawn to fantasy. You know, I'm drawn to the Zelda stuff.
And you like to sleep in, like it's
I
undeniable.
love to sleep in. So all of that stuff is just there in Princess Mononoke. It's just like speaking to me directly.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 3 for me.
Cool. Number 2 for me, I'm not ashamed to say it. All this time, I still love it more than anybody probably should, knowing what it is and what it's about. But if we want to talk about movies that formed and shaped me along with Fight Club and Dogma, yep.
Let me
go
guess.
ahead. I know
American
you know
Pie.
it. It's American Pie.
Yep.
Yeah. Saw that movie just at the right time, and it was just like this eye-opening kind of awakening in comedy, and it was tittillating. And
did you ask your mom to make you a pie after that?
No, but my dad did take me to see the movie in the theater.
That's hilarious.
I know that I've told the story before. You may have forgotten, but I'm sure I told it on Sidetracked. But gosh, so 1999, it was in the summer, because I remember my dad took my sister and I to see it while we were on our yearly summer vacation in the Outer Banks in North Carolina. So it would have been July. So I would have been like 14 years old, 15 maybe.
Perfect.
No, 14.
Age. Yeah.
And so my dad, like my parents pretty much always let me and my sister watch whatever we wanted when we were younger. Like I was allowed to watch all the horror movies and things I wanted when I was a kid. But so my dad took us to see it, and there was this group of kids, like it might not be this many, but in my memory, it was like 10 or 12 kids sitting outside on the sidewalk. And we were walking up to the theater, and one of them came running over to my dad and was like, "We want to go watch American Pie, but none of us are 18. If we give you the money, will you buy tickets for us?" So my dad took their money and bought like 10 tickets for these kids to get in to see American Pie because they didn't have an adult with them. And then, yeah, so we went and saw it, and I just loved it from the word go, thought it was fucking hilarious. And like without ever knowing it would happen, it's become this like super sentimental thing to me where like, they did American Pie 2, which I also like a lot. And then American Wedding, which I don't particularly care for all that much, aside from just, the nostalgic characters. Mm-hmm. But then years passed and they did American Reunion. And I remember watching the first teaser trailer for American Reunion, which was that song, "The bed is on fire with passionate love," like whatever that song is, that's like ubiquitous from the first movie. And it was like
tears.
The images were like what do you call it? Like photo booth photos of like the characters younger and then what they look like now in the new movie. And I remember like feel like welling up like I was going to cry, like because it was like so fucking sentimental to me personally, because I love American Pie so much. So like, yeah, it's a big deal to me. Love that movie. Always have, always will, regardless of whatever criticism of the content comes about.
Sure.
Still love it.
Yeah. It was on my, nope, wasn't on my leftovers, but I knew you'd get there. I knew that was a big one for you.
Yeah.
My number 2 is also a comedy, Office Space. I don't have the same love. I mean, I liked American Pie, but for me, Office Space just hit that perfect. I mean, I didn't work in an office, but I had that same feeling working retail. I hated my job. I hated my life. I hated what I did. And I just wanted to do what he did and just give it up and do whatever and then get promoted the way that he does and then quit.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny. I love the music. All the Ghetto Boys stuff is so good and used in a very ironic way, but it's still awesome. And yeah, great cast, just chef's kiss. It works.
I think a lot of time the best comedies can be great just because they're like silly and ridiculous. Something like Dumb and Dumber, it's just really funny people in really funny situations, regardless of how dumb it is. But I think a lot of the best comedies, they are humorous while like touching on things that are universal between people or like certain groups of people. And I think that's why something like Seinfeld took off so well, because they were constantly, especially in the early seasons, commenting on things that like people felt, but nobody was necessarily saying. Yeah. And I think Office Space, that's what makes that movie so incredible, is that main character, everything he feels and goes through. Like, I've never worked in an office, but just, you know, if you've worked some menial job or whatever, and it's just, they so perfectly, Mike Judge like touched on all of these things that are so relatable, and just the apathy that that main character feels. It's just absolutely relatable, and I think that's what makes that movie so perfect. In addition to just having like good jokes and you know, funny performances and all.
It's really funny, but it's saying something. It's speaking to you. It's understandable. It's saying, I don't know. It's just, it does it so well.
It's saying the things everybody thinks, but they haven't heard said necessarily 1,000 times, at least at the time. That's what made it so unique, and caught fire when people actually gave it a chance. Yeah,
I think Mike Judge is so good at that. I think he did it well with Beavis and Butthead. It obviously caught on with a younger crowd because it was, you know, made for a younger crowd, but it was, Beavis and Butthead was smart. Office Space did it. Idiocracy nailed it on the head.
And rewatching Idiocracy somewhat recently for Triple Threat Theater, I was blown away by just like, that movie was like 2006 or something it came out. But it felt like it was made this year, like not the special effects and everything, but just like the things that it was commenting on, and like the future that it imagines. And oh my God, it's like he actually traveled to the future and came back in time and made a comedy about what he saw.
He really did. Underrated filmmaker for sure. Like, his movies never always find a cult following, but never really hit the mainstream.
That's the thing is, Idiocracy is like a cult film, but man, if that movie had a budget, like, I feel like that could have broken through in the mainstream. Yeah. Although maybe not, because again, I feel like that's the kind of thing you can go back, watch it now and be like, holy cow. But at the time, right, that's probably the thing, is people weren't ready for it, and the studio knew that, so they didn't give him any money for it.
For sure. All right, I think we could say our number one at the same time, right?
Yeah, there was no part of me that didn't think this was going to happen.
I mean, it's all right. 1, 2, 3.
The Matrix.
Yeah, like, this is one of my top 5 favorite films, just period. I feel like the movie introduced me to what movies could be. Like, I've, not on this show, but in our previous podcast, Sidetracked, would mention the Lord of the Rings being so super influential, and it really was super influential in making me want to be creative. But when I saw The Matrix, I was like, holy shit, I had no idea that movies could be like this. It just introduced me to something that I had no idea was even out there, and it blew me away. And it still does. I just rewatched it, and it still blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. At the time, nobody knew that shit was out there because no movie had done anything quite like this before. I mean, it obviously takes inspiration from a lot of things. And Yen Wu Ping, who was like a classic choreographer and director from martial arts films in China, came and did the choreography for it. So, and like a lot of the visuals and stuff were inspired directly by things like anime, like The Ghost in the Shell. But
having Steve Scroce do all the storyboards for it beforehand.
And Jeff Darrow designing all of the robotics and stuff like that.
Yeah, that stuff is
so it's
inspired.
Like, kung fu movies and Japanese anime and American comic books and all of these things, and like the emerging internet culture. And I mean, they made like fucking, black leather cool. And it was just this amazing combination of things. It kind like, if you step back and look at it that way, it's kind of like the way Quentin Tarantino can take a bunch of old weirdo exploitation movies, cherry pick the really cool things about them, and then make something that people don't even know they're watching, like a remix. Sure. With something like Kill Bill. And
or even Star Wars.
That's kind of what The Matrix is.
The original Star Wars is that. Like, look at all the old storyboards from, or the story. They take actual scenes from old movies and use those as basically their animatics, and repurposed old TV serials and made Star Wars. And like you mentioned with Quentin Tarantino, The Matrix, I feel like, is on par with all of those things. It was so influential. It did so many cool things. It's such a concise, well-told story with so many cool aspects that still hold up. It's unfortunate that they made the sequels because the movie is perfect on its own. But, we don't have to get that here. But, gosh,
I like
such an amazing
the first two
movie.
anyway. It's just like it's like we were saying. They took all these things that already existed and mashed them together into something that people didn't know was referencing a ton of other things because the combination of them was so unique and original.
Yep.
And just the technology for like the bullet time and everything that everybody ripped off afterwards. And again, the style of the movie, everything like down to like the X-Men had to be like cool black leather and trench coats and things after that. And it's just
totally
super fucking influential. It holds up remarkably, maybe in every department except for sort of kind of the CG effects, but not that it looks bad.
The CG effects are still good, man. Like they
absolutely are.
Still really good.
Like if there's anything that doesn't hold up, like that's the only thing you can really point to, just because technology advances. But I mean,
for sure.
That takes nothing away from the movie
and how influential it was, because the early 2000s were completely covered in black leather, completely ripping off everything that everyone was trying to be the Matrix after the Matrix came out. And it was so influential for all the good and bad. I mean, every influential movie has so many copycats, right? Like The Dark Knight comes out and everyone tries to become the Dark Knight. And they're all, the carbon copies are all trash usually. But the original is what holds up. And The Matrix is right there. Star Wars, Pulp Fiction, those movies hold the test of time for sure.
Yep. I had a feeling that was going to happen.
For sure. I mean, come on, for sure. What are some of your
I just it was so hard to narrow it down that I just wanted to throw out some other movies. I mean, you already mentioned some of them, but like American Beauty
on there. You have Ed TV on there.
Ed TV is on my list. I love Ed TV. I mean,
same.
We talked sometime during this season of the show about jobbers, and I think I always throw out Ron Howard as like a classic example for me of a jobber, but I think Ed TV is one of his crowning achievements in cinema, alongside Apollo 13.
It's good.
American Beauty, we already talked about. I still think it deserves, some recognition, although I maybe don't love it as much as I used to. Sure. American Movie, which you mentioned, I put down on the honorable mentions. Being John Malkovich, which, like I said, I really need to rewatch. It's been a couple years, but I have the Criterion Blu-ray. Dogma was on my honorable mentions because I do like that movie a lot. Like, it's not top 10 for me in a year like this, but, obviously still means a lot to me.
For sure.
Ed TV, Galaxy Quest I threw on there because I always have liked that. The Green Mile, which I only caught up with, like, within the last 2 or 3 years, but is an incredibly fucking great movie. And didn't we say at one point Michael Clark Duncan was nominated for?
Yep.
Was it supporting?
Yep.
Man, yeah, he definitely deserved to win over Michael Caine. No offense, Mike.
That's the theme of the season of the show. Michael, no offense, Michael Caine, you shouldn't have won the
Oscar. The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. Like, I don't know when the last time is you saw that, but just as like a bit of fun, like action, adventure, silly romp, that movie is so rewatchable with just like a great cast. South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut came out in 1999. I love South Park anyway. The movie is great. Like, so many times something like The Simpsons finally has a movie come out and it fucking sucks, but the South Park movie is like one of the best episodes of the TV show.
Yeah. It gave us Blame Canada.
Yeah. Toy Story 2. I mean, I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it's still a great movie. Came out in 1999. And the last one I wanted to mention, not a lot of people are going to have heard of. I found out about it reading someone's review of it on Letterboxd, and I tracked it down. I think it used to be on Vimeo. I'm not honestly sure where you can watch it now, but it's a documentary called The Target Shoots First. And it's about, do you remember the Columbia House?
Mm-hmm. The CDs?
Yeah, where you could like sign up and pay for one CD and then get like a bunch free.
Yeah.
And like, or for like a penny. And I never understood how that program worked. But so like in the late 90s, this guy graduated from college, and I think his parents gave him like a video recorder, like a camcorder for his like graduation gift. And he got a job working at Columbia House in like some high-rise building in New York City. And he just decided to bring his camcorder to work every day. And it's like nowadays, if you have your phone out filming something in any kind of corporate setting, people will immediately shut you down, because we know nowadays with social media, like how easy it is for like bad things or things that you don't want recorded to be recorded and like put out in the world.
Yeah.
But like social media and that kind of stuff didn't exist at the time. So like all the people that worked at Columbia House, like nobody cared. They thought it was kind of novel that he was recording all the time. So he just got like amazing behind the scenes, like footage of just like meetings and like his fellow employees and stuff like that. And he made a documentary out of it, and it's fucking fascinating. Yeah, if you can track it down, The Target Shoots First. I highly recommend it. It's just like a cool, forgotten movie from 1999. So
yeah, I never heard of that.
Yeah.
All right, my runners up were Election, which you had on yours. I thought that was really good. Varsity Blues, I think, was my favorite of his like teen.
I thought about putting that down. I do love that movie.
Behind 10 Things I Hate About You. Yeah, it's just fun. I do have Lock, Stock on there. It didn't quite make the list. I feel like if I had seen it earlier, maybe it would make the list. At TV, as I mentioned, Life, I really enjoyed. Mystery Alaska was one of the movies in like the 2010s that I watched a bunch. It was available. I had available somehow, and I watched it a bunch of times. Really enjoyed it, but I don't remember it super well. Well enough to put it on my top 10, but I just remember really loving it. It's a hockey movie. It was really good. The Green Mile I had on my list as well, but again, it's been so long since I've seen The Green Mile that I feel like I'd have to rewatch it to put it on my top 10. And then the talented Mr. Ripley, I think, was really, really good, but didn't quite make it there. So
yeah,
good year, man. 1999 was a fun year to go back and check out and find the movies that we missed.
Yeah, if you want to have your mind blown, just go to Wikipedia and search 1999 in film, and just click on the list of releases and just scroll through it, and you'll like every third movie, your mind will be blown. Like, holy crap, that was 99, that was 99, that was 99.
Right.
There's so many good ones.
I'm surprised neither one of us had Star Wars Episode 1 on our lists. I kid.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to bring an end to our first season. Ryan, it's been a pleasure doing this with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the end of the show, though. We're gonna come back for season number 2. 1999 may be in the books, but we've got another year chosen, and we're going to give you some time to figure out what movies we're going to watch. Ryan, what year are we going to be watching for season number 2 of Movies I Missed?
Well, you picked 1999 for this first season, so you told me to pick the year for season 2. I didn't really know what to pick, so I just decided let's go back to the year of my birth, 1985.
Nice. Back to the Future. Going Back to the Future. Unfortunately, we've both seen that movie. One of my all-time faves. So that won't be covered. And a lot of interesting stuff came out that year. So it's going to be a fun year. We haven't mentioned this on any of the episodes, but we didn't have it when we first recorded the show. We're on social media. We're posting all the time. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. So make sure you follow us there at Movies I Missed Podcast for both Instagram and YouTube. We've got clips and a lot of fun stuff posted. So come follow us there. If you're following us on Apple Podcasts, it'd be awesome if you could leave us a review. That really helps us get awareness of the show out there. Gets us more listeners, and we really appreciate it if you could leave a review, preferably if it's 5 stars. Also on Spotify or Amazon, drop us a review. That just helps us get the show out, and that's kind of what we're hoping for. So anything else you want to say before we close out the season, Ryan?
Everyone should go watch Chill Factor. Give that movie a chance. It really deserves it, I'm telling you.
Chill Factor. Good stuff. All right, so come back for season number 2, covering the year 1985. Until then, I'm Jason Munoz.
And I'm Ryan Miller.
This has been Movies I Missed, year 1999. Thanks for listening.